All right, Patrick, thank you so much for joining us today. We're talking about children, sports, and mental health. So before we get started, tell us a little bit about you.
Um, Patrick Carter, born and raised in New Orleans. I'm actually a basketball skill trainer, so I own a company called Unlimited Skills. You can check the website, it's www.unlimitedskills.net. We work with kids starting at age 5 all the way to adult and pro. We break down all the basic skills, then we get more advanced as you continue to come and do training.
Okay, 5. That's pretty young to start. But before we move, I just want to ask you. So you gave me your bio. You told me all your professional. Give me something not on your bio. Something that people who know Patrick know, but other people might not know.
People that really know me, uh, I'm a pretty large guy, about 6'2", 245, 250. So I can be an intimidating figure, but I am a gentle giant.
Okay.
I will give you the shirt off my back. I've even had, I'm a landlord also, so I've had tenants stay in my place for free for 6 months to a year just because they were trying to get themselves together.
Don't tell
So
people that, Patrick. They're gonna be looking to rent from you. Hold up. We're gonna cut that part out.
look, that door is not open for everybody.
Oh,
So
okay. Okay.
it's special circumstances, but like I said, I'm a gentle giant. I mean, I would get in relationships, I would get in arguments because they're like, you give everybody your money. If somebody asks you for $1, you give it to them. If
Okay.
somebody needs, you do it. So yeah,
So some people would say too nice.
too nice.
Now you were an athlete yourself, right? Tell us about your athletic career.
I played high school ball here in New Orleans at Ennicar, state champion of 1997. College ball, I played at Vermont Tech. My position, I was a 2 guard. I averaged a double-double.
Now
So I
you went
averaged,
over my head. I know nothing about sports.
so I,
So I once you started saying position, I was like, okay, Patrick. But the listeners know what you're talking about. Go ahead.
I averaged I averaged 15 points, 10 rebounds as a shooting
Okay.
guard.
Okay. I think I know those two things I can figure out. So how
Yeah.
did you get into training kids, especially when you said 5? That was a shock for me because that seems pretty young for children.
Well, the reason I started training kids is I wanted kids to have an advantage. I've been doing training since 2007, so I've been doing it for a long time. And the reason I just want to give kids an advantage in that support and the journey into sports, specifically basketball. So a lot of kids, I grew up in an era, I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, and it was not that much opportunity in New Orleans as far as basketball is concerned. So I know my personal self, my story was a rough one. You know, I got it out the mud. I ended up playing college basketball the hard way.
Okay, could you
So,
tell me what that means?
so basically, I didn't get a scholarship to go play college ball. Uh, like I said, we went to state championship several different times, 2 times in a row, actually. One the first year, lost. Um, and so I didn't get a scholarship. So I went to Suno. When I got to Suno, I went to go try out for the team. As soon as I walk in the building, the coach said, I don't like players from New Orleans. I'm just gonna let you know that now. So
Okay.
we
Okay.
we couldn't even. So I ended up playing intramural basketball at Southern University, 1998. Played for like 2 years intramural ball. So we started getting really, really good. We got a buzz around the school. The buzz got so big to the point that the players on the team started getting jealous because our intramural games used to be packed and people used to videotape them. So they set up a game for my intramural team to play against Suno's actual team.
Okay.
When we played that game, they had referees, the head coach coached the team. We blew them out by, let's say, 20-25. The coach ended up cutting the whole team and still didn't pick any of us up.
Okay.
So, yeah. So from there, a friend of mine was already away at school. He showed the coach a video. I was on the video. He asked who I was. And that's how I ended up in Vermont.
But in that story, I can hear, of course, the therapist in me can hear lots of levels to the stress of that playing sports. Because you know you're good enough, but yet nobody's giving you the opportunity. How did that affect you mentally?
Oh, I mean, it definitely had an effect on me mentally. It made me feel like I wasn't good enough, or that I couldn't achieve my goals. So it made me mentally strong because I never gave up, but it was a lot of setbacks in my regular life for academics. Um, I worked and went to school, so I had the stress of like actually having to provide for myself and also train like I'm on a team so I can make a team. So there was a whole bunch of levels of stress. Um, Lack of sleep just because I'm thinking about my next move all the time, especially at that age, 19 to
Hmm.
like 21. Um, that pressure just puts a lot of things on your shoulders.
Right, right. And part of
And
what
it
you're
was
doing in training is trying to help children not avoid what you went through, it sounds like.
so as at this point, I have the keys and the blueprint on how to actually make somebody's team, even if it's junior college.
Hmm. Now, I want to pause because I love that you said the blueprint. And I was just talking with somebody about that yesterday. When you have the blueprint, sharing it with others because
Yeah,
it's important. And
yeah,
so
definitely.
that's what you say you're doing with your training.
Yes. I think there's too many gatekeepers. I mean, just
Hmm.
like you expressed, it's like, okay, let's say, for example, there's several millionaires in the city. I think it's a tragedy that each millionaire does not take somebody under their wing to show them how to be a millionaire.
Hmm.
Or if you're a therapist and you have a young lady that wants to be a therapist, you should take somebody under your wing and show them the ropes. And the only thing you should ask in return is to show the next person.
Right, right. And I strongly believe in that too, as far as giving the children or the people underneath me, holding the door open, but also showing them how to walk through it. So, but 5, that seems so young. I know as a for me as a parent, I know you're not a parent, but as a parent, my first thought is that's my baby out there playing and having that same level of stress, that same thought pattern of am I good enough at 5? Um, what's your thoughts on that?
So um, what I do is a little different. I don't just throw them out to the wolves. I
Okay.
give them a foundation before, and a foundation, and then I teach them how to actually play before they go and play.
Okay.
So they're not just going out there head first. So I know we're talking about 5-year-olds, but I'm sure we'll get to the AAU coming soon.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not a big AAU fan because
Oh, okay.
I'm not a big fan of AAU. It can be very beneficial for some people, but some people it's just horrible.
Okay. Well, let's shift right there from the beginning because I didn't grow up. I grew up with only sisters, so sports was not a part of my life growing up. It wasn't until I became a mom of boys that I had to learn very little, but a little bit about sports. And so that AAU experience is why I called you to do this podcast. Just watching those kids, I saw them spirits being broken, and it was just devastating to me to watch those kids like that. So, um, what do you do? Why do you not suggest AAU? Because I know it's competitive.
Well, I mean, AAU is competitive, but I mean, it just depends on what part of the bracket you're in. Most
Mhm.
teams are lopsided. So some kids are overaged. Um, most kids are handpicked. So you may have a team that's not handpicked. You might have a team that's just like, look, we want our kids to have good fun. So that
Mhm.
team has a disadvantage because you have all these handpicked kids from the best of the best from all over the state or even other states playing on this one team against your team of kids that just are just going out there and parents are supporting them. So they're
Mhm.
getting put out or they feel inferior because they got kids 13 years old with beards, you know,
Yeah.
fully developed, or the kids may have been kept back because they have some parents that keep their kids back just so that they can have an advantage in the sport.
You mean academically kept back?
Yes.
Okay, I've never heard of that concept. That's an interesting concept. Because mentally, to me, that would be stressful as a kid to know that you belong in a different grade and you're
Yeah.
being held behind because of sports.
Yeah. But if I mean, if that is being reinforced, At home,
Mm-hmm.
it may not be so stressful, right? So, or you transfer schools. A lot of parents may keep their kids back and transfer them to a new school, so they won't feel the brunt of being
Okay.
teased, else for being kept back.
So one of the things I know is the percentages are low to go from high school to college, and even lower to go from college to the, NBA or whatever your chosen sport, the professional
Yeah,
level. Why put that much stress on children when really statistically they have no shot at going to the next level?
yeah. I think it's a societal thing um, that's set up like it's a pipe dream, right? So
Okay.
you get us focusing on so much sports as opposed to like academics or careers,
Mm-hmm.
um, ways to support yourself, and we are all buying into it, right? So there's other avenues. So they'll say, let's stick to sports.
Okay.
Let's not go career wise or you know, I believe in like I do mentorship with my basketball. So I teach every kid how to start their own LLC. I teach them life skills, some
Okay.
soft skills, along with just basketball training. But you don't, let's just stick to sports.
Mm-hmm.
So there's other avenues. Say if I do basketball, right? So now if I decide if I might not be ready to make the NBA, there's prep schools. So prep school is just give you an extra year or two just to get your skills and mature a little bit. Because some people physically have it, but mentally are not mature enough to, some kids graduate at 17. Some people are not a mature
Mm-hmm.
18. So you can go to a prep school, give yourselves 2 more years. There's junior college options. So a lot of kids in our minds, just like you said, everybody wants to make it to the NBA. Every kid wants to play Division I basketball.
Right. Right. I do know
They,
that part.
they don't think about Division II. They don't think about Division III. They don't think about getting their school paid for in general so they can get a degree.
Mm-hmm.
Or junior college just to get yourself started. Everybody wants to skip to Division I. If you don't make Division I, which is TV, where you might end up being on TV,
Mm-hmm.
most people feel like they failed. So there's so many other options. Then from there, there's also overseas. So you
Oh
can
wait,
be
I'm
a
gonna
college.
pause and back up actually. So, because when you're saying is, as a kid, you feel like if I don't make Division One, I failed. But statistically, you're unlikely to make Division One. So we have a whole bunch of children walking around feeling like failures.
Yeah, feeling like
And what does
failures.
that do that to them mentally? And what does that? How does that impact their lives?
Well, it puts them behind. So I'll give you a story of a guy I went to high school with. I was able to just fight through and make it, but he was a co-captain of me and him were the co-captains of the basketball team.
Mm-hmm.
The coach transferred him to this school, like he lived uptown. So Carr was in Algiers.
Mm-hmm.
He went to the school. He did everything the coach wanted. Uh, he made the grades, um, performed well, state championship. He didn't get a scholarship. The coach didn't advocate for him to get a scholarship. So when his time came and we graduated, he didn't go to school. He didn't work. He was just depressed. So then he started getting into drugs, and then he ended up doing some jail time. And
So
his
just.
life he's never been the same
Mm-hmm.
since that moment.
And that's
But
really hard to hear, but unfortunately, it sounds like more of a common story than we would like to admit. And so what we're doing to our children at 5 years old is we selling them, you use the word pipe dream. We're selling them pipe dreams.
yeah, we are.
Hmm. And even as a parent, I participate in the system because like you mentioned, society tells us we should.
Yeah.
So what would be your advice to parents to make sure that we don't set our kids up for that failure?
Give them realistic options.
Okay.
That's the thing. You lay all the options out. As a parent, you need to do your research. You need to lay all the options out. If they're going to play sports, this is your options. Like I mentioned, hey, you might not do Division I, but you can still go to junior college. You can still do Division II. You can still do Division III. You may not, and a lot of kids, okay, I'm starting at 5. By the time they get to high school, they might not want to play anymore.
Hmm.
And I see a lot of kids that's like, okay, I'm kind of burnt out with basketball. I'm done. Allow that kid to be burnt out and say, I'm done, and let him move on to something else. Some
And that's
parents,
a hard one as a parent. hard as a parent when you see your child and they 6'6" and it looks like NBA is more of a reality for you. How do you let them stop?
I know, but you got to think about it. It's not your life, so that's gonna that's gonna that's gonna cause some more problems that you're
Hmm.
pushing them to go into a field that they don't want to do. So now they're gonna rebel.
So now all the parents listening are shaking their head and disagreeing with you. Wait, it's not my life. I created you.
No, it's not your life.
No.
You know,
Okay. Okay.
at
I'm.
the end of the day, I mean, you created that child, but
Mm-hmm.
hey, now it's getting to that point where he wants to make some decisions or she wants to make some decisions for themselves, and they don't want to do basketball anymore. And they're 6'6" and they have everything, but you're still not talking about how smart they are. You're still not talking about the things that they may want to do to uh, to live their life. So parents usually impose their will upon their kids, or
Mm-hmm.
they try to live through their kids. They may not have made it in sports, or they supported sports for so long, and they're like, I've been since you've been 6 years old, I've been driving to all these games and everything else. Now you just gonna give it up? You know what I'm saying? This is not
Let me
gonna
back
happen. Like,
up. Since you were two, in my case, and
yeah,
so I'm gonna just personal story. I never played sports. I never understood why sports were fun. I still don't personally like to play sports. But as a parent in the stands, when other people are calling your child's name, there's no feeling like that in the world.
yeah,
And you want to feel that all the time. It's one thing for me to say that's my baby, but it's a whole nother thing for you to start yelling. Strangers in the stands are yelling your child's name. You want to feel that. So it's kind of like you chasing this high. And so the
yeah,
next time you go to the game, you telling your baby, you're gonna dunk 3 times this time. Because last time you dunked 1 time, or you're gonna hit the ball out the park because you hit it to the fence. And
yeah,
so you're doing the pressure because you want your child to succeed. But sometimes it's also a little personal. You want some of the accolades because after the game, you getting a good game. You getting a pat on the back.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it becomes addictive.
It
I
is.
mean, it's addictive. It's the crowd. It's the everything. It all adds up.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a societal thing. This is what we do. I
Right.
mean, the Colosseums in Rome. It's like it just continues on, just in a different way.
Right.
At the same time, you still got to think. Even those cheers put pressure on the kid. So now, if I don't play well, and I've experienced that, watching
Mhm.
kids be upset if they don't have a good game, and the parents looking like disappointed. They quiet on the wire ride home, telling them, "Oh, baby, it's gonna be okay," but the parent not even really talking to them, looking out the window.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "Oh, well, mama, can we stop and get some McDonald's?" And the mama like, "Well, look, we got food at home tonight." You know what I'm saying?
Patrick, you
Like,
must have been in my car before. That's exactly right. We had planned this pizza party, but you lost. Now we going home. We gonna eat what we had. Um,
yeah.
seriously, but not seriously. But that's
So,
one of
so
those things that one of the things I heard you say. You didn't say it the way I'm saying it was though. Make your child well rounded, and that's gonna be the buffer for their mental health. Don't just
yep.
put the focus on sports.
Just gonna focus on sports. Put them in a lot of different things. I had a
Mm-hmm.
kid. I used to train in basketball. His dad brought him for years, but he also brought him to robotics camp. So
Okay.
the kid chose robotics camp. He's like, he just graduated with honors in his class. He's already making money. He started making money 2 years ago at 16, doing robotics, and he was building drones.
Okay.
So he
That's
had a business.
fantastic.
Yeah, he had a business where he started building drones and doing like security for people.
Okay. Stuff that again way above what I understand. There was some research that they said if you want your child to be a millionaire, it's much better to focus on things like computers, STEM subjects, science, math, engineering, and technology than sports because the longevity is there. You can work 40, 50 years. Sports has
Yeah,
a
definitely.
what, 10-year?
Yeah. I say if NFL, if you say NFL, the average lifespan of a NFL running back is 5 years. If
Okay,
you do NBA, it's something like it's like 6 or 7.
right. So
That's about it.
even and that there's the top prospects that we all know, but then there's that person where a team has 11 players.
Uh, 15. usually
15.
15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of us regular folks have no idea who number 15 is on that roster,
Uh-huh.
who's making, league minimum.
Yep. And he's
So,
trying. He's moving his family uh
mhm.
to place because he is getting traded because he's a bench player. So you just need to fill up those seats with somebody quality in case the major guys get hurt. If you're at the end of the bench, you number 15, you play when the first string person gets hurt and the second string person gets hurt. They might throw you in the game.
Okay. So financially, it's not even the best plan unless you're gonna be number one. Number 15 is not even the best plan because there are other ways to make that similar money without all the uprooting of your family.
Yeah, definitely.
But let's get back to our babies because I want our babies to be mentally well. And what I experienced, and again, why I called you is when I was at a game, I saw children's spirits being broken. They would miss a shot, people were yelling at them, and all of these children were under, they were like 8-year olds. Some of them looked like they could have been 10, but they were still 8. So these were
Yeah.
8-year olds. They left the game, they were all crying. So they were at that age where they understood enough to know that they had lost and lost badly.
Mm-hmm.
But physically, they couldn't, they weren't ready to play at that level. They were tired.
Uh-huh.
It was a lot. So what would be your advice for the babies?
I mean, if I had to talk to the kid themselves without
Mhm.
talking to the parents, I always try to have those separate conversations with the kid
Give
as
us
opposed
both. Give us both. What you telling the child, the 8-year-old who just lost badly?
okay. So for an 8-year-old that lost badly, I'm like, look, it's gonna be okay. You're 8. Allow yourself to be 8. You're not gonna win them all. But everything's a learning experience.
Mhm.
So with that, let's look at the game from a different view. What do you feel you need to work on? What areas did you feel like you struggled in? What areas did you do well in? Let's expand upon those. Next time we meet, I'll have something written up for you, and we can go through the whole list, and we can help you. If you don't know your position, some kids don't know how to score. They have everything, but the coach makes them run an offense that doesn't benefit them, so
Okay.
they're always in a bad position. So I explore all those options. That's what I do with the kid.
Mhm.
So the kids usually like, okay, cool. I don't do well with my left hand. So I notice when I go to my left, they'll put pressure on me, I might lose the ball. Or I don't understand the play the coach makes me run. So when I get my position and I get the ball, I'll get a little confused. Or some
Mhm.
kids are good, but like you said, let's talk about the parents again. The
Okay.
kids, the kids can when they're by themselves, they can play their butts off. As soon as the parents get in the stands, I know some kids. I don't like my mama to come. I don't like my dad to come because think about it. Do your homework, brush your
Mhm.
teeth, clean your room, do this, iron your clothes. Now you come to my basketball game fussing at me about that too.
I never thought about it that way, but you're right.
So
It's
now
just
it's not even fun. It's not fun
Mhm.
anymore. And you're looking at me side eye because I missed the shot. You know what I'm saying? I missed the shot, or somebody scored on me, and you acting like I'm being weak. I just missed the shot. You know, I'm
Mhm.
7, 8 years old. I
Right.
can't make them up because if they were that good, Sports Center would be in the gym.
Now, do you find there's a difference between the parents who played and then parents like myself who never played a sport?
Yeah, the parents who never played, like you said, they go super hard sometimes. It's like a 50-50 ball with them. It's like they go super hard or they really don't want their kids to play at all.
Mhm.
So I never find that in between parent. It's usually like, I don't want to play at all. I don't, but they so interested in the sport, so I guess I'll support it. Or they like, oh, that's my dude. That's my boy. Hold on. Let me get you some new tennis because you wasn't running right with those shoes on. Let me like, no, you did your routine. You did your little routine before the game because when you don't do your routine, you don't play that well, blah, blah, blah. So that's usually the parents that haven't played. The parents that have played usually don't want their kids to play the same sport.
Okay. And
So
I've
I have
heard
I
that.
have a high profile client right now that I work with. I worked with him last night, and the dad was, played NFL legend, and his son comes and trains with me sometimes, and his son does basketball.
Mhm.
You don't really want his son to have any parts. I got a couple parents who did football and they're like, I don't want any parts of football. My son plays basketball. I had parents that play basketball and they're like, well, I'm gonna let my son play baseball, just because of things that you're mentioning about the stress and the pressures of that sport.
Mm-hmm. Now, what about these kids? And my kid is one of them that plays multiple sports where they don't get any time off.
Well,
Sometimes
eventually
two different sports in one day.
they're gonna have to pick one. The older you get, the competition gets a little stiffer.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do actually want to play a sport on the next level, you got to probably pick one or at least two.
Okay.
And usually football and baseball match because at different times of year, so you can play both of those.
Mm-hmm.
But basketball and football usually don't overlap, and baseball and basketball usually kind of overlap. So those don't usually work with each other. And track helps with everything. So most coaches suggest that you run track just to
Mm-hmm.
get your speed, your agility, and everything else.
Do you ever find kids are stressed because they have to choose and they don't want to choose? Like, does that ever lead to mental stress?
It can. I don't have that many kids that usually kids are just like, I like to be occupied. I love every team that I'm on. I love the camaraderie. I love my friends I love my baseball friends. I love my basketball friends. I love my football friends.
Right.
So I love being a part of each. It's rare. It's only when kids are forced. See, parents are a big issue. When a kid's forced to play a lot of different sports,
Mm-hmm.
it's usually a problem. If he chooses to play a lot of different sports, it's usually cool.
Okay. So we're not going to pick on the parents, but let's back up because as you said, parents are a big problem. I want to drive that point home because as a parent, you want your child to be mentally well. You want to, like you said, give them all the opportunities that you didn't have. And sometimes we might do too much. What about, like you do private training? Do you ever think there's an age where you're just too young for that?
Not really with the private, because it just depends on the maturity of the kid. Usually it's more of a problem when it's a group style training.
Okay.
And your kid is just learning in a beginner, so they feel like they're not good, or they're so far behind, so they become overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, my organization, we have two trainers.
Okay.
So I usually take the beginners on one side, and my business partner takes the more advanced kids on the other side. And we do vice versa. He'll take the beginners, I'll take the more advanced kids, and we usually split them up, and we meet people where they're at. So that usually works. But I don't suggest, if your kid does not know how to play, just throw them to the wolves, put them in a program that's too advanced for him. If they're a beginner, put them in a beginner's program, or get them some one-on-one training to get them up, to get the confidence up and get their skill up to go to a program that's a little bit more advanced.
And you may not be aware, but you just used a word that a phrase that we use in mental health, starting where the kid is. We use it as starting where the client is. That approach keeps people mentally well because you don't run ahead of them or you're not behind them. And so even though y'all are not trained in mental health, y'all are using some of those practices that mental health, workers use.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when I see kids get flustered and everything else, I give them a timeout. Take your little break, man. Have a seat. It's okay. Get you some water. Take a walk. Don't think about anything. Just take a little walk. And then when you come back, we'll get back to the work.
So you teach them distraction skills. You're teaching them mindfulness skills. You're observant. So y'all are intentionally making sure that children have not just physical basketball skills, but the mental skills of the sports.
Yep.
And so if a parent is not, either can't afford to or just never knew that they could do the private type of training, what might be some suggestions for a parent that says, I notice my child is mentally struggling in playing sports?
Well, I think some parents need to just take themselves out of the equation. So don't look at it from an ego standpoint. A lot of parents look at it from an ego standpoint. And like I said, I'm not picking on the parents, I'm picking on human beings. So human beings have egos,
Okay.
So it's an ego thing. It's like, not my child. My child not gonna do this. Blah blah blah. If you my child, look at it from, okay, I'm 7 years old. I'm trying to figure I'm trying to figure so many things out in the world in
Right.
general.
Right.
If I'm 7, that's my second year in school. I just started school. So I'm figuring that out. I'm
Right.
learning how to take care of myself a little bit better. I have more responsibility in a family unit now. And I'm trying to figure out this sport I love. It's fun, but now the rules are changing. It's getting a little stiffer.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, how do I navigate all this different stuff? So you got to kind of look at it from the kid's standpoint, like, man, not from a sense of babying a child, but just look at it like, okay, this kid is learning a lot right now. How can I make this process a little easier? We got the at-home stuff. He knows what to do and how to do, and he's still learning some stuff, or she's still learning some stuff. But from a basketball standpoint or sports standpoint, how can I make this transition easier? My kid, like you say, my kid might not be the fastest kid. How can I help him get a little quicker? Because I notice that affects his confidence. Okay, let me go put my tennis shoes on and go run with them. Like I heard a dad told a story. Dad told a story, he said, his son is a little heavy set. He was like, man, I brought him to a camp for football. They had to jog around the track 2 times. He said, my son made it around the track the first time. He couldn't go no more. He said, he walked up to his son. He said, I don't want you to give up. You know, they got people watching. I'm here with you. He said, I support you in everything you do. So you know what? We're going to run this lap together. So the dad went out there during the training and ran a lap with him. The child was able to make it around a lap. And he finished the camp. And the kid ended up getting an award for being a great offensive lineman during that camp.
That's a
So,
different level of support than I'm used to seeing in most parents, even myself. You know, we'll say, go do this, but we don't necessarily do it with them. And so what I'm hearing you say is, if you're going to support your child in sports, you got to do it 100.
you gotta do it 100. Gotta be all in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, parents gonna dictate.
Right.
Look, this is what I need you to do. You're gonna sit there and like you watching the game, they're in the game, and you're watching the game.
Mm-hmm.
When parents, I've mediated several conflicts between parents and kids.
Okay.
I've mediated several different conflicts. And most kids don't want their parents, especially when they get to teenage age, they don't want the parents to tell them nothing. Don't tell me nothing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I've made that mistake too. I've made that mistake where especially because I don't play, so my knowledge is very limited. But I say, I'm not sure what it's called, but that little thing you did, you should have did this. That doesn't go over well. Especially for a child, like, you don't know what you're talking about, but you criticizing me.
yeah, definitely. So just an example, you should do your research so you can actually know what that is. Right? Do your
Right.
research. Watch some, go on YouTube. There's plenty of games and everything else you can pull up from NBA to college. And they have tutorials, literally on basketball. Like, I don't know anything about basketball. Teach me what the terminology of basketball, and tutorials on that.
So maybe y'all should add that to y'all consulting firm, a parenting class for sports parents. Put it together, because I could join and sign up. I'll be one of your first people to sign up.
Come on. And look, on the kids end, I don't just beat up on the parents. On the kids end, I tell them, like, look, don't be so angry with your parents, but they're trying to figure it out too. Because if they didn't, they don't know how to handle this. And I said, also, they're your eyes and ears. So they want you to do your best. While you're in the game, they're seeing things that you don't see.
Right. Right.
Don't just dismiss them. Don't be angry with them. They're trying to help. They're not coming to the game so you can fail. Like, no parent, it's rare. I know there are probably parents out there, but there's no parents that just come to the game and say, man, I'm coming to watch him fail.
No, I don't think that ever happens.
Or watch her fail. So your parents are your eyes and your ears. And that's on every level of life. Your parents are like, look, I see what you're doing. You're gonna put yourself on a hole if you do this. I'm just trying to let you know before you even do it. Let me stop that right now. So it's the same thing with sports. Parents are eyes and ears. It's just the mix up in translation. The translation of what I see to, talking to a teenager who, once again, you get to the teenager stage, you're dealing with hormones and They got, if you're a guy, you might start liking girls, or girls start liking you, or vice versa. Whatever the case may be, you got all. So now my mom's in the stands, cutting up. I got a girlfriend. She up in there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, and then let's say if the parents are not together, my dad on one side of the gym, my mom on the other side of the gym, my girlfriend over there, my stepmom over there. I don't like her. You know what I'm saying?
So there's outside of the actual game, there's other stuff that's stressful to the children. What's happening with the
Yeah.
parents, and I've seen that where the parents will say, you know, different parent comes to different games, and they kind of divide up the schedule, and it can't all be at the same game at the same time. And I know that has to be stressful, especially when they get to the level of going to the championship. Then who gets that becomes an argument because as a mom, I'm going to the championship. Y'all make it,
Yeah.
I'm going.
I mean, parents start arguing in the stands. I've seen parents argue,
Mm-hmm.
and the kid is in the game. He keep looking over, and he see it getting heated. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so how can that kid be his best if
Right.
y'all not on your best, right?
Right. Right.
Kids are a sponge. They're a mirror. Whatever you do, they're gonna want to do. Whatever you do, they're affected by whatever you do.
Right, right. So I'm hearing the major takeaway from this is the kids will be well if the parents are well. If the parents are intentional about making sure they're well rounded, that the children, you know, like they're balanced, they don't have unrealistic expectations,
Mhm.
they understand all the options. And that's one of the takeaways I'm going to go and really understand what are your options when you do these sports. Because, you know, junior college is something that we don't think of. We all want Division One, but what's the other options? Just so when that time comes, my baby is still a baby, but when the time comes, I will have that knowledge and
Yeah,
be able to guide properly.
yeah.
Also,
And
it sounds like invest in training is important.
oh, training is definitely important.
Hmm.
Get you a good trainer.
Right.
Even if you go once a week to once every 2 weeks, just get a good trainer to even give you that foundation. Um, or even have the trainer write some workouts out. So even when most people that come to training, the thing is most people are inconsistent. And I know life happens, and you have other things going on. You might have other kids and all kind of different
Right.
stuff. Being inconsistent in training, when the kid comes back, they have to start over. So being consistent with the training, and most trainers will write out the workout. So if a kid comes to me for once a week, that's not enough working out. That's not enough training. So I will write down the workouts. I email the workouts to them and say, look, you with me one day, I need you to do this for another 3 days. This is
Okay.
stuff you need, you
So
know.
not just a trainer, but a trainer who really cares and is invested in your success, so
Yes.
that you get everything. And also, it sounds like if we're going to interview a trainer, we need to know what's their plan for the mental health of my child, because we know
Definitely.
that there's so much stress in this game, there's so much pressure in this, you know, signing your child up for sports, that you need to have a plan for that.
Yeah. And we never talked about the social media aspect. So that's
Oh,
the added stress that didn't even exist
right.
10, 15 years ago. Social media in sports is a whole thing. So you might have had a bad game, say somebody dunked on you.
Mm-hmm.
Now that is on social media. So now you got to deal with your parents, and you got to deal with the way you're feeling about that in general. Now it's on social media, and you get all these thousands
Right.
of people that are making comments about
Right. Right. And you know, I guess I was thinking more of the babies, but you're right, those teenagers, they're really heavily involved in social media and having those games. People don't have to go to the game anymore. They all are streamed live, and there's, you know, so it used to be embarrassing just for the people in the stands to see you fall flat on your face, but now that'll be go viral.
it. Yeah. But it's not just the teens. The babies, trust me, when you get around 7, 8 years old, they're looking at the streams, and they know all the players, and they got
Oh,
all the high
maybe
school
I
players.
might. Yeah, I might not. I don't think they do, but I might be wrong. I didn't realize the babies are looking at social media too.
Not social media in the aspect of like the regular social media, but they know the ranking. There's different so I'll give you basketball. We do maybe like once every summer. We do a camp for a week. And say if my camp usually starts at 7 years old. We do 7 to like 12.
Mm-hmm.
and we do a camp. When the kids on the sideline during their break and they get their lunchtime, the kids are actually going to YouTube and pulling up different players and looking at different games. They're like, "Did you hear about this team? They're the top
Oh.
team in Louisiana." Blah blah blah. You know, and they're actually pulling these different teams up and sharing them with each other
Mm-hmm.
and showing different players, showing different highlights and things of that nature
Right.
at 7, 8 years old. And if the 7, 8 year old are not, by the end of the camp, by being around the 10, 11, 12 year olds,
They start.
they start learning from the players. They start adapting. So
There's
they're
so
not
much
on
with this
social media.
topic, but I don't want us to, obviously we can't talk about it all day, but I want to talk about this one last thing. The time commitment and how does that play a part on your mental health? Because from what I'm seeing, it's your whole weekend till late at night. So it impacts your sleep, your eating, because when you're at those games, the concession stands don't have anything healthy. But your coaches a lot of times
Not,
will say, don't eat junk. So then you're left with
uh,
very limited choices. So from Friday when you get off of school till Monday when you go back to school, your weekend is consumed with the sport. During the week you're
uh,
doing the sport, but you also have school. That seems like a lot too.
it is. It's a huge commitment,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to give the kids breaks to be kids. Um, like another example of just a camp. Like a kid, the mom was so intense. So the kid came to my camp and we had like some snacks for him. We had a concession stand. You could buy some snacks. So he didn't bring any money. He literally started crying and begged. He's like, please, please, can I have some gummy bears? He's like, my mom, since I play sports, my mom makes me so healthy. I never get any snacks.
Oh my
I
goodness.
never get anything sweet.
Mm-hmm.
She is like on him to the point where he almost started crying. He's like, I just want some gummy bears. Like, can I have some, please? You know? So that's an example on the opposite end of, like you said, unhealthy stuff where they have some parents are on their kids so much to the point he broke down and he just started crying at the table. He's just like, please,
Right. Well, most
uh,
parents are trying to build an athlete. And
yeah,
so in doing that, you have to think about nutrition. That part is important, but they're still kids. So yes, they still want, like you said, the gummy bears or the whatever candy. And to be there and say no over and over and over again is really hard.
mhm,
And to see your
yeah,
child crying behind food is really hard.
yeah. So it's a balance. Long story short, it has to be a balance.
Hmm.
The whole family's grinding for this kid to be successful. Um, but it's a balance. You can't look past the point that they're still kids. So they need some time to say, okay, I brought my game with me. It's okay if I play my game in between. Yeah, play your game for a little while. You want to ride,
Hmm.
play your game. Um, you want some time to yourself to do whatever. Can I talk to my friends? Okay, talk to your friends. Give them a little time, give them a little snack or whatever that they may like. If you're gonna bring like all healthy stuff with them, let them have
Hmm.
a little something that they can enjoy just to
Just to
get the
be
kid
kids.
out.
And then the
Yeah,
teenagers, they missing out on socialization with their friends.
yeah, definitely.
There are
So
times where they
also give
might
them,
even have to miss prom because of sports.
yeah, true. So with the teenagers, like give them a chance to socialize. I
Hmm.
mean, it all comes down to balance, and there's ways to do it. You just have to be creative, to be honest.
Okay.
You know, you have to be creative. Say if your son or daughter may be dating somebody, and they're going on like you said, prom. Look, I know they was gonna take you to prom, or y'all gonna go to prom together, but they have a basketball tournament. Would you like to take a ride to the tournament? Invite the family to come.
Hmm.
Would you want to come in and blah blah blah? We'll work it out. I'll help you with a hotel room for you and your family, or whatever the case may be, if you're in that
Hmm.
type of position. But communication is key, and just from personal experience and years of doing this, uh, just be out and open. Everybody's out and open about their feelings. And,
Okay.
so you don't want to make the kid uncomfortable about coming to you, especially when it dealing with sports, because the kid will shut down.
Right.
If you keep coming at them a certain kind of way, they're not gonna be like receptive to anything you say.
Right. Right.
Because at the end of the day, they want to look good in front of their parents. They don't want to disappoint y'all.
Right. Right. but they have, you can tell they have a lot of emotions about it. You know, of course, as a person, and I think that's what you were saying earlier, being a person. As a person, I know you want to go to the dance. I know you want to go to, like, I can't pretend that I don't know you want to go to the dance. You've been looking forward to that your whole high school life. But we moved up into the championships, and so now you have to miss it. So giving that empathy about understanding, and like you said, being creative with coming up with a second alternative.
Yeah, creative second alternatives. Just the human fact, like, man,
Mm-hmm.
what's going to give this person some joy because they got to take care of their business.
Mm-hmm.
Because say if you're really taking sports serious and you want to be your career, okay, this is your job right now. So you got to take care of your job, and then you get to play after you took
Right.
care of your work. you
Yeah.
know, which sports does help build those type of foundations of
Mm-hmm.
knowing how to take care of your business and then set up playtime and your structure for life in general.
Yeah, sports has so many benefits, which is why I push it on, not push it, but encourage my kids and support them to do sports because of so many benefits. And so I want to thank you for being with me today. And I want you to give us a takeaway, something that you feel like, okay, if you don't remember anything else from this conversation, parents, children, this is what y'all need to remember about sports and mental health.
Okay. Big takeaway for me, I would say at the end of this is um, first is communication. Make sure you set the lines of communication with your kids because y'all all are one unit. And if your kid is stressed, you're stressed. And if you're stressed, your kid is stressed.
Mhm.
Uh, so it's all reflective. So make sure you have good lines of communication and you have a good balance. Don't burn your kids out. I'm saying have a good balance. Or don't let the kids burn themselves out. Make
Mhm.
sure that kids balance because they have some kids with personalities who are intense. Make
Mhm.
sure that kids get some balance. So
Okay.
that's major shit. Communication and balance, and that will eliminate a lot of some of the stressors.
Yes.
Um,
Well, thank you. Thank you. So people probably want to get in touch with you. So give them the information again. Spell it out for them. Email, website, whatever.
okay, you can contact me at www.unlimitedskills.net,
Okay.
and that's skills with an S, not a Z.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Patrick Carter. And Patrick Carter Consulting. If you're looking him up, you can Google him. All right, thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.